So, hello. So you're here for SuperOffice mailing. I hope you've chosen the right room, because SuperOffice Forms is also interesting. But I will show also some little bits of SuperOffice Forms. So, as you notice, it's not called SuperOffice Mailings anymore, it's SuperOffice Marketing, but I just showed the mailing part. My name is Markus. I'm a consultant in Switzerland. I'm with the company now since like 17, 18 years, but we were bought like 2005 from SuperOffice, so our former company was Team Brandl, and we had our own CRM solution in Switzerland, which we try sometimes to migrate to SuperOffice, but it's not that easy. I don't know the ones of you who know Caesar. It was more like this framework oriented, so you could do whatever you want. So we had customers having huge masks, 1 meter wide, 1 meter high, because they just added fields and fields. So it's a bit hard to migrate. That's our history in Switzerland and my history. What we want to do today is to see how to start a bit best practice from my educations I have with customers. I'm consulting and educate this stuff basically from the start of the project. I'm also doing pre-sales and also support our users for the mailings. Then important stuff is, well, segment your data, right? So you need to know your data before you do some mailings. And then the typical stuff inside SuperOffice, so create a normal newsletter, one-off mailing, that's it. Multistep campaigns is more if you organize an event or something with projects. And then how can you add link tracking triggering, either before in the template or afterwards, how to use it. And a part with the SuperOffice Forms, how they connect together and how you can use them together to get the best out of it. You'll get the full mailing stuff with the marketing user plan. You will, the ones from SuperOffice know that, or with the complete. What does that mean? That means even a sale can send out mails, right? So he can go to the mailing and do some mails, but what he not can do is do the link tracking and triggering, or use the reports and forms. So for that you need the marketing plan mainly, or the complete, who has every function in it anyway. Let's start a bit with the segmentation of the data, how you get your right audience for a mailing. And I mean, that starts always, that's the first step if you do the mailing, make a selection of data. And for that, obviously, you need to know which target audience you want to address. Are these high-level management people, or these more technical people? Then which form? You know, in mailing there's also an SMS tool, so you can send out SMS to individuals. We did that once in Switzerland. That was not really successful, so we get not very good feedback on that. That was before GDPR, because it's sometimes the phone is still a bit private, right? And then if you get advertisement on your private phone from a company, that's not really what you want. Then also you need to think about frequency. I mean, it makes no sense to send out mailings every day, and otherwise it just lands up in spam, or you get no subscriptions anymore. And also the impact, that means that you inform your organization and what's the result out of it. What do you want to achieve with a certain campaign or a mailing? So these are the questions which needs to be answered first before just sending the mail to anybody. Well, the marketing items, we will look into that later a bit in the live demo also. So typically you have the account manager, you have like the categories, You see, I'm from Swiss and this is from Holland, so the presentation was stolen, actually from Tony, and given to me, so I just used the same. Guess Niels, you did that?
Yep.
Perfect. So even it's in for Netherlands, I can say, well, that's the first name, last name, and so on. All right. So these are the basic data you have in the standard CRM. So the bubbles, the same. So which category you have, it's a subset of the whole group. Which businesses you want to address, and also write the input in it. And positions, for example, and a lot more, which I show you then in our live demo. So that's the next step. So let's go into the solution and do it. I'm consultant, I'm not the sales guy usually, so I usually hate PowerPoint. I almost never show PowerPoint. So that's why we have here our demo. Well, let's see if, I guess I need to end the presentation. So I usually came into place when our sales contact made the first meeting with the prospect, and my job is also to support our sales. So I'm in the pre-sales, and that's where we built up a closed virtual machine. So I can send out mails, we can show everything to the customer, and he hopefully believes us that that's also working in the cloud. But we don't want to send out the mails to our customers just for demos, right? So that's our solution in Switzerland, how we work. First, the data itself. I mean, you know the standard mask from companies, persons. So for segmenting the data, you either go for categories, like you want to address existing customers, right? Or you want to access prospects. So that's one possibility to segment your data. Or, as we see before, business, and then go on like use a sales manager here and go on and select maybe on position. So that's Vertrieb, it's sales, the sales guy. So go on with the position. So this is something, to be honest, I'm also not so happy it's in the details from a marketing part, right? Because usually when our users fill up data, they will just edit and go to the first register, and it fills out, that's what's on the business card, sales manager. But then they forget maybe to make a position, to group it for the right selections, to address the right people. So, in my opinion, this is often something we tell the customer that it must be maybe a mandatory field, so maybe add like a little macro for that. So it's always being filled to make the selections afterwards. So these are the normal address data you have, but obviously with the selection you can do whatever you want. And the ones who know, I go to the selection here. Let's get this vernachlässigte Kunden. You know that from other, let's see if I can show you the picture, yes. So these are the old same pictures with the crying baby. So that's maybe a company we didn't contact it since some months. And it's an A customer, so maybe we should contact it a bit more often. So that's one part to get your data, the right public, the right persons to address. So based on existing contact data, but obviously you can go on, and that's then the power when you combine it also with service, for example. You see here a tab maybe not everybody has. So this is was one part of the sustainable customization, right? So we made machines in the service, extra tables, and just show it here, and that opens up a lot more possibilities to segment your data. Maybe you want to address that this machine is out of service, and you want to mail that to your customers and say, well, look, it's just 1 month, and then you need to re-sign the contract, or maybe it's just a really old machine and we can replace it with a new one, or a new option we have, and so on. So that's really the power inside SuperOffice, so you can get all your relevant data to address your customers. Okay, these are the first step, how to segment your data. You need to know your system, and you need to know which data is filled in the system, and how good the data quality also is, right? And let's just get to this one. So the vernachlässigte Kunden, or the ones we didn't contact in a while. So these are just companies. So if I would go on, I would just add a selection and maybe just then get the sales guys, for example. And that's then the result we have to make a campaign. To make a campaign, well, just go to mailings, right? And from here you can create your mailing. It's the same on the task, so here you can choose an email mailing, an SMS mailing, which I told you before is maybe not really successful always. Or the document mailing is just a mail merge. So you get a PDF out of it and then you can print it out. So the old style, the old way to do it. But we will look into the email mailing now. So what do I need to have more to create the mailing? So we segmented our data, we know our data. Well, then we need to have a template. And that's something every customer at the start, they worked with another system maybe. You know MailChimp, there are tons of mailing systems out there. So in most of the time they already have an existing template, right? So they made it. We often tell them, well, you are not the specialist to create the mailing or the layout, so maybe go to a designer and let it do for you. So then it looks good, it works on mobile and so on. And that's the first start. So I will show you 2 examples how to start with the templates. The first is let's start from scratch. And the other one is let's start from an existing. So these are the first steps. So instead of create a mailing, because I don't sadly have any template, I should go to marketing first and maybe create a template. So let's go to message template here. And here I can see all my templates. You can build up a folder structure as you like. So you see I have the general ones. These are the ones we deliver from SuperOffice. This is, to be honest, often said, well, it's a bit old style, right? So that's one we've learned on Monday with the NPR meeting. So there will be made a repository online. So you can download more actual layouts to start with. And actually that's what's included in the new system also. I don't know, the ones who work with SuperOffice, you have now an import and export button. So it's much easier to transfer some layouts to a customer or get these nice shiny layouts into your SuperOffice. That's something what I've done here. So the Euler company, that's our demo company we work usually. And I just stolen again some templates from our 1DV, like a newsletter with 3 articles or email follow-up. So that's the good thing with the new system. You can just here export and import stuff. So but basically what you want to do first is look into existing templates see if you like someone, if it fits your company layout, and then choose the one which is closest to the one you want to achieve. That's the first step. So let's say we have a nice white with two small columns on the left and a big one with a lot of text. And then you want to copy it, right? You don't want really to destroy the original, because maybe later you will fuck up and then, well, how to get the original back. So make a copy and then give it a name. So usually the first template you create is our company basic template, right? Something like that. And there are two editors actually in the mailing. This one it's called the simple. In my opinion, it's not the simple, it's the other way around. But it's meant for people who don't really know HTML, right? So they are not used to dig too deep into a template. So that's why you have, and I always show this one here. So here on the top you have these red dots here, and then you see the different parts of the mailing. And if you want to choose, maybe you see here dear customer name. That's maybe not a good start because we have a salutation, right? So if you want to change that one, so go into that area, and then you get these little options you have here. And like this, I can edit the paragraph here. And now I can edit the stuff here on this side. Let's say I want to have the salutation. And this work you do at the start. I always tell here it's the best way to invest a lot of time, right? Because the better you do the basic layout, the more time you save later. That's how it is. It's in every project, the more you spend at the start and think about future changes, sustainable changes, then the more you get out later. So like here, you have all the possibilities you know from HTML editors, so you can make it bold, you can make it Italian and so stuff. Or in that case, I just choose a template variable like the salutation. So like this. So like we get a nice salutation for this person we get then. So these are the yellow ones you can place in every part of the mailing. And then you can go on. So you have the body, so no need to change that for the basic template probably. You have an image which you can place left, right, top, bottom, and so on. So you don't really need to think about HTML code, just choose what you want. And when we get to the image, you might realize, well, maybe we have our corporate images like header, footer, and stuff. And that's something you just can upload to SuperOffice. So either you do it like here, you have a set of pictures which are already here, or you just upload a picture from here. Let's pick one from here. And then you immediately see how it looks like, and then you can resize it, or just in that case select it, and it will be selected then as soon as I apply, and you'll see how it looks like. All right. Then you have the layout part. The layout part defines more the basic rules. And since we are just in a small part of the whole mailing, it's also maybe a good idea to define these stuff like the margins for the whole mailing, right? You don't want to do it in every single part of the mailing. You want to do it once. So that's where, if I cancel it on again, then you see here on the top, you can edit the top level of that mailing. And here we define all stuff like the fonts, the size, the margins, and all that kind of stuff. And basically, in my education, I don't really go further than that because it's just learning by doing. So you need to click on this, you need to get familiar with this one, and just go on and see how it goes. That's our suggestion at the start. And you see the possibilities you have here. You can copy stuff, you can move stuff around, you can obviously delete or edit add a new column and so on. So that's what's in the basic, simple editor here. That stuff. Well, and if you're happy, then we need to think about other stuff. You see here on the top, and that's the good thing if you have an existing template. You have links already in there, like if you cannot read this mail, watch it on your browser. Maybe on the bottom you have already an unsubscribe link. And these are the things which then comes into place also with the GDPR stuff, right? So you need to give the possibility to the customer to unsubscribe or manage the subscription. Any questions or comments? Yes?
Quick question on fonts that you mentioned.
Yeah.
There's a few default fonts in,
Yeah,
in
exactly.
the system. What's it going to take to get new fonts in there, and is there an opportunity to embed fonts? If you have a visual anarchy?
Not really. There were added some fonts lately, as far as I know. I don't know which ones exactly, but you cannot really extend these fonts. These are published by SuperOffice.
Yeah,
but you could add the style sheet probably, but then you need to do it the other way around than this. So in the simple editor, you just have these options, and that's it.
And always also be aware that if you use like other fonts than for example these fonts, that those fonts are also always web enabled fonts. So for example, a lot of fonts are not very well readable when received, for example, in Outlook.
Or in Gmail, or whatever mail system you have. So these are guaranteed to usually be available on every system you have.
To understand, it's always like a balance between what is your corporate identity and what is possible out there.
Yeah.
We also have this challenge with our own font, Proxima Nova something. So it must be available. All right, but just to finish it up here, so you can here add images directly, like the first part, but directly in the body, for example. So that's almost the same. So you have all the options available. So and then there is another one, and this is called the pure HTML usually. I guess when I made the demo now, I just changed the original probably. Yes, I think so. So I did that what I suggested you should not do, right? Because the pure HTML is just an empty, let's make a copy here. Let's delete that stuff and then we have it again. It's just an empty pure HTML stuff. So you see no sectors anymore, you see no short buttons we have had before in those elements, but you just have the ones I've showed you when we are inside the body or the title. So that's what we have in the pure HTML. But the good thing here is I can get the source for the whole HTML newsletter, right? And that's the second option when we already have an existing template. So let's open one we had before. This is a customer of us in Switzerland. They do signs on the Autobahn or on every street, go left, go right, and so on. And they had this newsletter. And they wanted to have that one in SuperOffice. So what do we do here? Actually what we do is, or what we did is, right mouse button and open that one with the editor, right? And what you get is the HTML code. And then you do what IT does in 90% of all cases, and that's mark all, copy, go back to your empty template, mark all again, and paste it in. And then you can click source and see what happens. So you immediately see if this might gonna work or not. So we had it once or twice when they had special JavaScript codes in the mailing already, which you get an error probably. But in like 95% of the case it will work, and that's our experience. So what do I need to do now? So I see I get all the text already, I get all the buttons I have, but what I don't get are the pictures. And the pictures, they need to reside inside SuperOffice, because we want to view that mail, if we cannot see it, also in the browser, right? And that will then get the pictures from our SuperOffice image library. So basically what I need to do, and I go back to my the one I already played around a bit, so you see it a bit more. I guess it was here, the mailing. So you just go on the place and then you see your mail, and you see that on the top you need to have this picture. And if you save a template or a mail locally, then you get usually you get a subfolder called images, where every image is in already, if you save it locally. Otherwise, if you come from MailChimp or another system, you will have it on their site already. So you need to probably download it and then upload it to SuperOffice. And either you do it on the fly, like I do now, so I go on that place I want to change, so maybe here on the bottom I don't have the logo here. So I click on this one, which is broken. Then I have the image properties with the right mouse button. And here I can see how the original name was from that picture. So it was camion. It's a French word for trucks. And it was in the image. So what I need to do is now, well, browse server, right? Then I get the upload options, choose my file, and in the image folder, and I should pick the camion. So the same file you have, upload, yep. And press OK. And usually it just works, and on that place you have the same picture with the same size and stuff, you have it in. And now it's uploaded into the SuperOffice or image library. And then, well, you go on and on and on. Maybe you find stuff which is not that easy. You see here the links are blue, because in my style sheet it's not defined well. So it's the default view you have, but if you look like here, I guess we have it in white. So if you convert something like that to SuperOffice, sometimes you might need to go to HTML and do stuff here. It will not always work inside this directly. So that's sometimes a bit a hassle. But that's why I tell the customer, if they have a problem, we have marketing specialists within SuperOffice, right? And I'm also not working every day in that system, so if they have a question, we pass it to our marketing, and usually they know how to do it. So that's how we support our customers, and that's the way I recommend, because you cannot be specialist for anybody and not in all details. And it makes no sense to do this kind of stuff in an education. So you can spend weeks on that, right? So that's the way it is. But basically that are the two ways. So you choose an existing we have, or you copy over a HTML code, and in most of the cases it will work. So this will be then the signal. Alright, that's how to create a basic template. So now we have the data, we have the template, and now we need to think about what we really want to do. We want to send out now a one-off mailing. So a simple newsletter, for example. So let's shortly look again to our data. Let's grab a contact. Let's go to interest. And what we have here, obviously, these are the person interests. So I don't know if I go too much into GDPR. The good thing in Switzerland, it's not final yet. So we just need to comply if our customer has contact with European citizen. So we still have a lot of companies who are not GDPR compliant, but basically it is the sale guy can mark or pre-define that this customer might be interested in product news. That can do the sales guy. What you cannot do is this one here, right? That's the GDPR stuff. So usually you as user cannot change that one. So what you will need then to do is to save it and probably then send the privacy mail to that customer and maybe call him and say, look, we have really nice newsletters. They look so nice, and you always get a free cup of coffee in Starbucks when you subscribe to it. Please, I will send you a mail, and that will be this one. Please click on it and subscribe. And hopefully you then get the consent to send out this mail. But basically, let's go to a selection. So this will be then the selection to contact the interest product news. Let's see how many we have. So we have 6 guys in our database we can mail to. That's great. And we have the template already. So let's just create the mailing. If you do an email mailing, just go to mailing, create the mailing, and now you're creating the campaign. So we give it the name. Let's call it Product News October. This is the internal naming, and then the external is yes. News again. Then up to here, it would be same as easy to do it in an external system, right? So you can create the mailing in a MailChimp or whatever. But here comes the power when you use SuperOffice itself. Because what you can use now is from whom the mail will be sent. And like you can say, well, it's our contact. Usually the sale is the contact owner of a company. So if you send out the mail, it looks like you're getting a personal mail from your responsible service guy, and not just from news at something. Or if you go more into the machine part I showed at the start, you can use the support contact. But let's choose our contact. Or in some cases the data is not valid. I can still say, well, let's pick up news. And it's the same for reply. So the recipient gets the mail, he hits reply, yes, I want to buy that. Where should that mail go back? So use the from, that's the same as above. Or use a mail which doesn't exist, that's the no reply app you know from Multistep. So the mail doesn't really need to exist, but it gets nasty mails back, right? So, or again, let's put it, give it back to the sales guy, because he has the contact with these guys and he needs to answer if they have a question. Or let's put it back to news. Then you can obviously archive that mailing into some folder structure also, which then makes sense if you have many mailings per year, per month, and so on. So you need to think about a bit, maybe not at the start, but the more you do mailings, the more the mess will grow if you don't structure it. So usually a good thing is to make it at least the yearly mailings and so that the selection we come from is the product news. So it will then also be archived there to the project I come later. And I can upload files, and for the GDPR I need to say now what type of mailing is that. That's news mailing. I can track all links, that's just good, and I can also add the Google Analytics you have probably on your website, so you can track if there are some guys coming from this mailing to your website. Alright, next. Then we choose the template. Let's get our nice, this one here. Let's get next. And now we add the text. And you see I forgot to add the nice salutation in our main template, in our basic template. But well, just add it here. So it doesn't really matter if you forget something, you don't need to go back to the start and then do it again there and get the new template. So just do it here and then add it from here, that's the same. Like this. And what I strongly suggest, especially at the start, is this one. There's a nice button which is called Send Test. So let's send it to us. And I guess that's the most used button in mailing probably. And that's come back to your question with the fonts, right? So you need to ensure that your mailing looks nice in Outlook, it looks nice maybe in Gmail, it must look nice in some web browser mailing stuff, it must look nice on your mobile. So that's what I said, invest really time in the basic template, because the better that one is, the easier is it later. You don't need to think about it anymore, just add the text or the new pictures. And well, that's how it looks like now. So, well, it worked with the salutation, that's good. And I'm almost happy, just look at the top, then I'm happy. So that's good, and then I press next. And I already have my guys from the selection here, because I came from that one. But the good thing here is I can add other guys also. So let's put who is already here. Let's put this one here, plus. So you can add as many contacts or from other selections you want to have into your recipients. You see this one here is now updating. If you don't want to wait or don't have time for a coffee, just save and close it. Or you can also go wherever you want to and just come back later. So it's a background job. It will work in the background, and at a certain point it will be there. So if I go back to my marketing, I have my product news, it's preparing, edit, and at a certain point I should be here. So I should get them the recipients. And then there are some options on the left-hand side. So override consent. That's only possible if you're an administrator. That's a rule inside the role management. So usually normal users don't have that one. Then only one message per mail if I know no customer, neither us, who doesn't have duplicates. So, but that will ensure that it's only get to one. Then update recipients list when sending means later on in the last step I can say send it at 10 in the morning, because 10 is a good time. Everybody had the coffee, had emptied their inbox. So we will be the first one to get a new mail, and then you will notice it. So, but maybe at 10 in the next morning, there will be another one who is marked as product news, right? And he should also get that one, or she, and that will then update the list. And include companies means you also include the spam mail info at sales at from the company itself. So the ones who's being deleted anyway. And in the status, you see also if you have consent or not. So you don't really need to take care of that at the start. So I see I can only send it to 2 guys, because the others don't have consent anyway. So then I need to go maybe a step back and call them, or send them the privacy mail again, and so on. So that's or since I'm administrator, I will abuse my power. And press next, if then it's ready. That's so let's shortly wait until it's getting ready, and then we are on the last step, and then we can send it out. So that's a simple one of mailing. Nothing else happens. The mail will go out, every link will be tracked, and that's it. Nothing special. So let's save and close it and do it later, and open later on an existing mail. Then what you can do else, and that's the link tracking and triggering. Tracking, I said, yes, I want to track every link which is in the mail. That's being done. But the triggering is this one here. Let's open that mail. So that's a mail we usually show the possibilities we have inside the mailing. Well, we have the variables from SuperOffice, and then would you like to receive our product news in the future? Well, then there's a link. You can subscribe here. So the customer can click on it, and it will change data inside SuperOffice. Then we have, is your address correct? That's usually what we do when we start a new customer. They migrate data from an old system. Maybe they want to ensure that the address data is correct. So you can get all the information you have in SuperOffice, and ask if the customer is using that. For those, I know audience is almost dead, but still, audience is there. So that means the customer can log in and change his own data if you run audience. And this part, day of open doors, you want to invite people into an event, and that's where the multi-step campaign comes into. And I will show you what happens with that link if a customer clicks on that link. So let's see if we have already now our mailing ready now. This one here, edit, yes, we have it here, so the next step will be send it now, or send it tomorrow. So let's send it now. That's it, and that's how the mailing is then being sent out. So for the multi-step campaigns, you need to do something more, right? And let's go back to the day of open hours. And what we do there is we create a marketing project, a conference. Because what we want to do is we want to know which people will attend, right? We want to know how many dishes we need to order, how many presents we need to prepare. And that's where you can work with this link triggering. So that means if you send out a mail, which is not just a simple newsletter, and the customer says, well, I apply, I will come, that he will then be added here as project members, or as project member. And then maybe 1 week before the event, you will send out another mail and say, look, in a week we meet, that's your ticket, that's your plan to go to the location, and so on. So that's multi-steps, and after the event probably you will send out another mail to the ones who were really there, right? Maybe some guys are not joining, and say, well, thank you that you joined us, and here you find additional news. So let's go back to the mail itself and see what we can do with the links there. Let's open the one I created. So let's just go like here somewhere and add a tracked link. Let's just create a new one and give it a name. Naming is always what does this link. You can reuse that link later. So this one is a single use link because it's just for that event and that mail, right? So add guys to the project. And here you can see what you can do when the recipient click on the link. So you can redirect maybe to a new event website. You can create your own mini landing page. You just need to design it well. So you can copy again the source code maybe from your website into that one, and then you have a mini landing page that will also work quite nicely. Then you can set some fields in customer service. So if you use customer service and you have some special fields on company or contacts, you can set a value there. And you can set an interest. So this one is being done with the link I placed, are you interested in product news? So then if I click there, I get the checkbox. Or I can clear, obviously. And this is the one with multi-step campaign. So I can add or remove people to a selection, to a project, or a service selection. So what I would do here is I add it as project member for Tag der offenen Tür, Day of Open Doors, right? And then they will be added to that project. I can also create follow-ups. So if I put a link in my mailing and say, well, call me, then you can create a follow-up for the responsible sales contact, and you will get a task. I don't know which, I guess that's one never used, but you could also just create an appointment directly in the diary of that person. But that will just put it in no matter if he's on holiday or not, right? So I know no customer who used that, but the task is often used. So I can create a follow-up. And I can define which type of task it is, so call him, created by, who needs to do it, and so on. So all these kind of stuff I can do from here. Then I can also create a request. So maybe if I present a new product, I can also present a link and say, are you happy with your product? And instead it goes to a normal task for the sales guy to go to the service department. Or if you use the service as normal requests, you can also say, well, this is a sale request which comes into the system. And the biggest thing is the scripting stuff. And that's the part where you can, if somebody clicks on product news to a specific product, you can create a sale, for example, an opportunity, or whatever you want. So these are then scripts or functions, macros you can choose from here, and it will be triggered and do something in SuperOffice. And that's where the power is when you use the integrated mailing of SuperOffice. So you can work with the data directly inside SuperOffice. You don't need to export data, import it again, and have another data set of addresses somewhere which are not GDPR compliant, right? And so on. So that's really the power with this link triggering, which you can do from here. And let's just open a mail, this one here, to show you what happens. So I have my project, which I showed you before. It's totally empty now. And I have this really nice newsletter. Nice design, right? And I say, well, yes, I want to come to that day of open doors. Click on here. And this is just a really simple text. Thanks for your invitation. Let's meet us in 5th of December within Rhino. And what happens now is, if I refresh here in SuperOffice, I have it here. So that's the stuff with link tracking and triggering which you can do. Questions to here? Because the last part what I show you is thing which is in the other room, how to connect to forms also. Because that gives total new opportunities now with just the link tracking. You see the link I have with the product newsletter, or also with the mailing. I can just click on it and then it will do stuff, right? But usually if you have an event, you might want to ask something. So, are you vegetarian? Do we need to prepare dishes vegetarian and so on? Do you come by train? Do we need to pick you up? And all these stuff were not possible inside SuperOffice before. But with forms, you can do such questionnaires. And it's important to know, it's not SurveyMonkey, which can do whatever you want. It's not really a sophisticated event organization where you can print out tickets with barcodes and stuff. But it will get to the first steps, and that's the important stuff. Often smaller companies don't have that anyway and don't have the knowledge anyway. So you can do the first step inside SuperOffice. That's the important stuff. So let's shortly look into the forms and what we can do there. Let's zoom it away a bit. And that's something which came new with the form. You see here, the ones who know it, the first three are the standard, which were before 8.4. And now we have a new one, which is called form response. And let's look into a form I created. Again, this is stolen. Luckily from our website again. So let's look into that one here. So this is what's new. Get all the news from 8.4 and learn how to speed up your business. Get the news. So let's pick that up. Let's open that one. Like here. So either you have it standalone, the form, or you can integrate it in your website, right? That's with the JavaScript. That's the second option you have in the form. So when I hit get the news, the idea is that you will get a mail with a PDF. So let's just enter name and enter this Hugo. Like this, get the news. Here you see I just redirected to our site. thank you, however it looks like, but you can also create your own landing pages again. So what happens now? Let's look a bit deeper into the form. Who has already created some forms? I mean, it's really easy, right? It's just drag and drop, add field, define which field you have, define form elements, add pictures, and so on. So that's the easy part. But here you have also on the bottom, you have actions. And the actions is what happens when you press submit or get the news. And here is an option beside all others, is email response. And these are the mail templates which are marked as form submissions. So if I choose here, you see I only get like 2 mails and not the templates I created before. So these are the form submissions. So let's look into this. What's new version, whatever. So cancel it, close it, go back to the mailings. And I have here the form answers or submissions, responses. And that's the one I created. So if I edit it, you see that I only have 3 options, that's it. So I don't have the option to send it to a certain time, but it will be sent when you press get the news or submit. That's the only difference you have here, and you also don't add recipients. But the rest is totally the same. So I just added a nice template here, and I added this PDF. And what then I get is, if I get the news, is I get a mail. Let's hope it's here now. I guess it's this one, yes. So I get this email, nice looking email with all the news, and I have my PDF here. So that's how you can connect the forms with immediately mail responses to you. Or obviously, if you send out an invitation for an event, you can link a form directly into the mailing. And then the person, instead of just clicking to the mail, will get a form where you can choose, yeah, I'm vegetarian and so on. Yeah, that's basically it. I hope you learned something. If not, well, I cannot teach you more. No, but if you have questions, there's a really nice website on the community, right? And that's the customer, learn the essentials, marketing. And here you have nice videos, you have how-tos, how to handle bounces and so on. But for the bounces you need to do a mailing first, right? So that's how to get started. So that was my session today. And
thank you.
Thanks for joining.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
May I just ask, just to be absolutely clear on the marketing module, expanding it to sort of event handling is not your core, you just say that's e-marketeer, or?
Depends to which degree. I mean, if you work together with form and you ask the person, well, are you vegetarian or not? At the end you will get this input you will get inside the forms. I can just show you here, marketing. And then you get the form submissions. So what you will get out of it, without the expander tools, you can export it to Excel. So if you have like, I need to pick up these and these guys at the airport, then you need to organize it either here, or you create tasks from here. That's possible. But like barcode tickets, or all kind of stuff else which organizes the event itself, like we have a nice app now with the Expander World. That's not included, right?
Yeah, because I was thinking once everyone's, yes, sign me up for the event, you sign up for the event, you get the confirmation email, fine, that's all handleable.
That's all handleable.
And then, you know, a new form, maybe confirming their participation, invite a colleague, yeah, everything up to 1 week to go.
Yeah,
etc.
these things are mostly possible. So
Yeah.
it's really the 90-10, it's really the special stuff. I mean, I don't know what events you plan. And usually I tell, well, if it's like a day of open doors or a Christmas event for your colleagues or for your companies, so you don't do it as your business, then this is enough. I guess you can do it all with the standard. You could even go further if you start with expander tools, because with the scripts you could add it into custom tables inside customer service. So you could create a table called events and have all your fields there and then organize it from there. But that's then a lot of configuration, and maybe it's cheaper to get a specialist like the eMarketeer we have on our App Store, which is better integrated than MailChimp probably, and which is easier to manage all this kind of stuff, or also like workflows they have in eMarketeer. Yes. That's the difference, I guess. Okay? Then enjoy the rest of the